The NFL is terrified this is happening as the latest quotes from Aaron Jones on JJ McCarthy not only have the league on high alert, but also firing up fans even more. And former Viking Garrett Bradbury speaks out on his departure from Minnesota. We're going to be breaking down all that in this episode of Vikings Digest, but first make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you can stay up to date on all things Vikings as we head through this offseason. And with that, let's hop into the first topic of the day, which is AJ praises JJ. So of course we're talking about Aaron Jones on Good Morning Football yesterday, talking about JJ McCarthy, saying simply, JJ's a winner. If you look from high school through his time in college, he's lost one career game. He came in his short time there, he was balling. The preseason, he ended up getting hurt, unfortunately, but I think it might have been a quarterback battle if he didn't get hurt. He's different. He's a competitor. He wants to be great, and he's hungry. So right off the bat there, you see there that if it had been a quarterback battle, it would have been very interesting to see what would have happened. And we heard reports also throughout even the end of the last year and into this offseason that there was definitely a strong chance that there was going to be a quarterback battle for QB1 heading into the early parts of last season. Unfortunately, JJ getting hurt did derail that, but in hindsight, like I've said before, that was the best thing that could have happened for JJ McCarthy, as unfortunate as it was, because he was able to do nothing except worry about just integrating with the culture, getting familiar with the playbook, hearing how Kevin O'Connell calls plays, knowing what the atmosphere is like in these NFL stadiums compared to college, where, yes, college is very loud and it's very lively with all the marching bands and the different sounds the fans can make, but coming into the NFL, it's a completely different ball game as well, with the types of players you're going against, the way that the fans are, and things like that, and the sounds of the stadium. So he was able to do nothing last year except immerse himself in the NFL culture, in the Vikings culture, not worrying about school, not worrying about anything else. And yes, as much as we wanted to see him play on the field, it would have been another element for him to worry about from a mental and physical standpoint as well. Worrying about his on-field performance as much as he was worried about learning this team and being integrated with this culture as well. You hear so many guys like Aaron Jones and Harrison Smith and everybody else, Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, almost everybody, TJ Hawkinson, has come out and spoken very highly of JJ McCarthy, of his work ethic, how he prepares, everything to do with what a quarterback needs to be, a franchise quarterback at that, and he has done everything that the Vikings have needed him to do. And speaking of preparation too, Jones kept continuing saying just the way he's very methodical in everything he does, so attention to detail, he's fully dove in and then some. I'm excited to be even in the backfield with him, take some handoffs and have him throw it to me too. So I think you'll see it when he steps on the field. And yes, it's going to be a while before we can see JJ McCarthy step on the field before the OTAs and training camp get started. But overall, it's a lot of hype around JJ McCarthy. I honestly don't remember the last time that a quarterback had this much hype around him, despite not even playing a single snap. It's almost unheard of where he just has this much buzz around him and people are calling him the savior of the franchise, and he hasn't even played a regular season snap yet. I know it's a long way to go. I'm not fully drinking the Kool-Aid yet. However, I am very confident that he can be our guy. It's been a long time since we've had a franchise quarterback in Minnesota. Outside of Fran Tarkenton, you can't name very many franchise quarterbacks. Dante Culpepper, Randall Cunningham, they were the closest ones to being that guy because they got us so close to a Super Bowl or so close in the playoffs, but were unable to get it done. Brett Favre had one flashy season for us. He could have been remembered as a Vikings legend. Unfortunately, it was ended in a interception during Bountygate, where you have the famous Paul Allen quote about it not being Detroit. So it's been a long time coming. There were some other ones in the process of that too. You had Christian Ponder, didn't work out. Teddy Bridgewater didn't work out. Sam Bradford was brought in at one point. There was even Donovan McNabb as a quarterback for the Vikings at one point, and Josh Freeman back in the day. So yes, the Vikings have gone through a carousel of quarterbacks through this organization. We just finally want to have one where we can just have him for a long time that isn't Kirk Cousins, one that can take us to the top of the mountain, one that can get us to the Super Bowl, one that can get us that Lombardi trophy that we so desperately want, one that can be remembered as a Vikings legend, just like how Harrison Smith is the best safety we've had since Paul Krause. Those two will be remembered as generational Vikings legends. We need a quarterback to go with Fran Tarkenton, and JJ McCarthy seemingly is that guy from everything we've seen from him as far as how he prepares off the field and everything like that. Now it's just a matter of how that translates to on the field. And with that year that he had sitting off on the sidelines, as frustrating as it was for him, as frustrating as it was for fans not being able to see him on the field, we are going to see a JJ McCarthy that has had a full year to learn, not have to worry about on-field performance, not have to worry about anything to do with on the field. Everything was strictly off the field and strictly just immersing himself in Vikings football. That's why I am so excited for JJ McCarthy this season. And not only that, he's coming into a perfect situation where Minnesota let Sam Darnold be the punching bag last season. That was the big thing, is JJ McCarthy didn't have to take all the brutal sacks that Sam Darnold was taking on last season. He got to sit back, let Sam Darnold be the one who exposed what was wrong with the Vikings offensive line. And then Minnesota said, okay, now that JJ is going in there, especially coming off of a meniscus injury with the Teddy Bridgewater history that we've had and more, now we have to go out and fortify that. So what did they do? They went out, got Ryan Kelly, got Will Fries, made sure that we were going to have the necessary pieces to protect JJ McCarthy and the necessary weapons for him to throw to, getting him Jordan Mason to bolster down the backfield. And then he'll obviously have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Jalen Naylor, and all those other guys as well. But what do you guys think on Aaron Jones's comments, and how fired up are you about JJ McCarthy heading into this season? Let us know what you guys have to say down in the comments below. But that's going to take us into our second topic of the day, which is Bradbury reveals the truth. So we talked about how the Minnesota Vikings went and fortified that offensive line. And unfortunately, as we saw with the post-June 1st designation, that Garrett Bradbury will formally be cut, and he was scooped up quickly by the New England Patriots. When talking to the Boston Globe about his time in Minnesota, he said, I had a great 6 years in Minnesota. It's a really great locker room and built some really good connections there, and it ended, right? That's the business. You never want to feel comfortable, but that's a wake-up call. That's all right. Here we go. That's how they feel, and they move on. So obviously showing a lot of maturity, taking the high road, and continuing saying that there's no ill will. I'm not bitter towards the Vikings. It's just a new opportunity for me. I think that when there's a change, if you don't take that opportunity, you're not going to grow from it. So it's more about, all right, I get to reinvent myself. I get to reprove myself. And the minute you think you have it figured out, you're gone. So obviously, Bradbury wanted to stay in Minnesota probably for a little bit longer. However, as the season kind of went on and when free agency really started, that Minnesota was trying to trade him for some draft picks or things like that, they went out and they got Ryan Kelly. But in the 6 years in Minnesota, Bradbury has always been a better run blocker than a pass protector. As a part of a disappointing interior, he allowed a career-high 38 quarterback pressures in 2024 per Pro Football Focus. He previously never allowed 30 in a season. So unfortunately, we did see a drop-off with Bradbury, and obviously that's probably what led to them moving on from him and getting an obvious upgrade in Ryan Kelly, where Ryan Kelly in his last 858 pass blocking snaps, only 18 pressures allowed and 2 sacks allowed, versus Bradbury in his last 730, over 100 less, there was 38 pressures allowed and 4 sacks allowed. So obviously less sacks allowed, but a lot more pressures, and a lot of pressures can lead to interceptions. I know sacks is the big thing everyone talks about, but if your quarterback is getting pressured a lot, he's not making a lot of sure throws. It's a lot of shaky throws, and that can often lead to a lot of interceptions or deflections, things like that. A lot of things that Minnesota was a victim of last season. How many balls did we see get swatted at the line? How many times did we see Sam have to make a throw as he was getting hit? How many times did we see a pressured throw from Sam that did not come out exactly the right way? Or how many times did Sam Darnold hit his hand off of a defender or an offensive lineman because it just was too close and it just was an awkward angle and it was almost an injury almost every time? So that was a big thing that was very alarming for Minnesota. So looking at Bradbury's stats, obviously it made sense why he moved on from him. He went and got a veteran in Ryan Kelly, as well as his teammate in Indy, Will Fries. So now Minnesota, they went out, they fortified it. There's no ill will towards Bradbury. They brought him in. He had a great 6 years in Minnesota. We enjoyed him. He was really fun for those times. Unfortunately, did have a big drop off last season in a contract year. So that was something that Minnesota was looking at, going, all right, we can either invest in him and hope that he bounces back or gets better, or we go out and get a sure thing in Ryan Kelly, a veteran center. Yes, Bradbury is a veteran, but Ryan Kelly, that experience and coming from where he was coming from in Indianapolis, just a much better fit for Minnesota. But overall, how do you guys feel about Bradbury's comments, and what do you guys feel about the upgrade with Ryan Kelly, and how excited are you to see how this offensive line performs in the trenches this season, protecting JJ McCarthy? Let us know how you guys feel down in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this episode of Vikings Digest. I've been your host, Griffen. Take care.